How fast does tesamorelin work? Well, this is a question we're going to dive into, and I'm going to ask you if you're using tesamorelin, or if you ever have, let me know in the chat box, but also what you're using it for, because that's the big difference in the question. Is if I really understand why you're asking the question, then I can give you a little better guidance. But my curiosity tells me that you probably are wanting to use it for muscle building, for getting your six-pack, for recovering from too much adipose tissue or dad bod. Fellas, maybe you're using it for blood sugar regulation. So we'll dive into all of these, and then I'll also explain how fast it can work for something like high cholesterol. Once again, tesamorelin is it's a drug called Agripta. It is FDA approved for a very certain condition with HIV patients who have what's called lipodystrophy, or VAT, where you've got visceral adipose tissue that's damaging the liver and other organs. Off-label, there's so many amazing things that this peptide does, and we're going to jump into that. So by the end of this video, you're going to know, okay, if I want to lose weight, how fast will it work? If I want to get my six-pack, how long will that take? If I want to balance my blood sugar, what will it take, Regan? If I want to improve my cognitive function. So let's go through the questions. Okay, so for those of you who are wondering how fast tesamorelin works, number one, I'm going to go quick overview, and then you can jump into the deeper reasoning around the time frame. If you just want liver regeneration, we've seen 3 to 6 months in the clinical trials. So if you've got fatty liver disease, any kind of enzymes that are elevated, if tesamorelin is appropriate for you, 3 to 6 months, and that's based on an MRI imaging. If you want to get that abdominal muscle showing your abdominis rectus, you want the six-pack, depends on the amount of body fat. Roughly, if you have 30% of body fat or more, it's going to take about 12 to 16 months, depending on how disciplined you are. If your body fat's in the teens, then it could take 2 to 3 months is all. If you're somebody who's got insulin resistance, maybe you've got skin tags, you get hangry, or you just need something sweet all the time, we've seen blood sugar change in 30 to 60 days, and then hemoglobin A1C, 90 days. So that gives you a snapshot. Now let's jump into why. The very first thing is, if you're looking for like a hormone reset, so let's just say you feel generally burned out. You're just like, man, I just don't sleep great. My brain's not working great. And my body is just not looking the way that I want it to. Well, this is where usually it takes about 60 days. And with the caveat, get your blood labs ran and figure out what's the cause of this, and then look at the cause of the cause. So consider getting your gut tested, do a stool test, do a test called metabolomics, which is an organic acids test, so you can see any nutrient deficiencies from the urine. And then one of the other tests I really like is called the biome burden. It's from Cyrex, and it's a really interesting test because you can see what pathogens you've got circulating in your blood, and then how well your T cells are actually managing those pathogens and actually getting rid of it, or is that pathogen in active growth mode? Get the diagnostic test. But first of all, in the first 2 weeks, here's what we've seen in our data. We see that pulse of growth hormone, as long as you take this peptide properly, that pulse of growth hormone happens within the first 2 weeks, where you start noticing greater levels of deep sleep. Now, if you wear a Garmin watch, or you have a Whoop or an Oura Ring, whatever you use to track your sleep, maybe you have the 8 sleep and you're all frozen, you'll see an increase in deep sleep, and you'll see that you drop into it even faster when you fall asleep. Ideally, we follow what's called the 3-2-1 method of sleep. 3 hours before you go to bed, stop eating, and then take your peptide about 90 minutes, right in between there. 2 hours before you go to sleep, stop drinking fluids, unless you love waking up to urinate, be my guest. And then 1 hour before you go to bed, this is a great time to start watching CNN, Fox News, all the crazy, tumultuous things. Okay, no, turn off the TV, turn off the electronics, grab a book, make love, give someone a hug, whatever grounds you. It's a really good time to reflect back on the day. And if you follow the 3-2-1 method, ideally get to bed by 9 o'clock, be asleep by 9:30. That's when you're going to get the most benefits out of tesamorelin. Because if you have a poor sleep cycle, you're not going to regulate your hormones, because the hormone that is the alpha of the pack is a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol, you want it nice and sleepy and low at night when you fall asleep. And then as you have adequate levels of growth hormone that gets released, the body starts repairing the damage. while you're sleeping, and it's all done without you even thinking about it, which is kind of cool, right? And then as you're waking up, you'll wake up, and as your body hits the lowest temperature right around 3 a.m., then your core temperature starts to rise, as does cortisol. And so when you jump out of bed at 5:30, your cortisol is going to be really high. But the problem is, if you're not following this circadian rhythm, and there's a test called the adrenal stress awakening test or cortisol awakening response, and you just collect saliva at 4 different times of the day. But what we'll see is if you have healthy cortisol, that's going to help balance cortisol just by having growth hormone, because your body will drop into deeper sleep. So it's one of the strategies. And then, yes, there's adaptogenic herbs. There's things like epitalin, thymosin alpha-1 that can help rebuild the cortisol levels if it's too low. But what we've seen is roughly 2 weeks. And then you'll start seeing this nice balance where you get more melatonin production at night, and your body goes into this deep, restful sleep, and you start burning fat again, because the hormone dysregulation, not only does it cause issues with our skin, our hair, our libido, our confidence, but just by getting a little bit of growth hormone, it tells your body, hey, Reagan's younger again. And so my hormones start to wake up, and that's without me using any exogenous hormones. So it can be very exciting. Insulin resistance. For those of you who are worried about diabetes, or you just want, you're trying to put on muscle mass, but your insulin fasting is always hovering just above 6 or 7. Your hemoglobin A1C is like 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, where you're kind of in that subclinical metabolic burnout. Well, we see blood sugar, as long as you're using this properly, because if you're using growth hormone too frequently, that can have a burden on the blood sugar. But if you're using it appropriately, we see the change come in about 8 weeks. And usually hemoglobin A1C, this is the amount of glucose on the hemoglobin in your blood, and it's a 90-day snapshot. And so we can see the volume of glucose on those blood cells. So usually we can't measure hemoglobin A1C for at least 90 days. But when we've done it sooner than that, we see fasting glucose levels come down by about 15 to 20 points. We see insulin fasting come down by about 4 to 5 points. And then we also, in 90 days, we'll see hemoglobin A1C drop 0.2, 0.3 percentages. And that's with you having the shock collar and surveillance camera installed, so that we can make sure you're eating all the right foods. You're getting your protein, you're avoiding the sugars and all the fatty, greasy foods. Think of that for insulin resistance. Here's what we see in liver regeneration. So if you've been told you have NASH, or non-alcoholic steatosis, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or if you have fibrotic livers, in the clinical trials, this was in the HIV-associated non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. What they found is, based on an MRI scan of the liver, they found that these patients, their liver was actually improved by MRI imaging within 6 months, and in some cases, 90 days. Their liver made a massive transformation. Okay, so if you're someone who has low energy, poor recovery, metabolic burnout, your hormones are flat, you don't have libido, you're not attractive, nobody loves you anymore, not even your dog. Okay, that's pretty dramatic. But what we see is improved energy, improved sleep, better mitochondrial function, especially if you're adding in a peptide called SLOOP 332. This is a newer one. It's an exercise mimetic. That we notice a massive change in the first 60 to 90 days in our clients. And the way that we're measuring that metrics is VO2 max. We do another benchmark called Fitness 50. And by the way, I'm going to provide a link to that at the end of this video, where you can get the copy of my free book. And in my book is the Fitness 50 benchmarks. But we also check with the IGF-1 and growth hormone signaling. And we see a dramatic improvement in less than 90 days. And if you're looking for lean mass, so maybe you just want to get rid of that belly fat and you want to get a little six-pack action back. I just got a picture from one of my friends who's also a client, and he did a photo shoot, and it was such a dramatic demonstration on what these peptides do. We've been working together for 18 months, and he just completely went from dad bod, looking just like non-athletic. You wouldn't necessarily want him hiking a long distance, or if you got injured and you're in the wilderness, you'd be like, this dude's not going to be any help to me. But now he looks like the dude that's like the fireman who you'd like, hey, come lift up my truck. He's all ripped. He looks so good and his confidence is sky high. Tesamorelin was a big part of the strategy on getting that six-pack back the way that he loved it. So lean mass, what we see, muscle definition, noticeable improvements, 3 to 6 months. Most of you, it depends on what percentage of body fat you have. In his case, he started at just under 30%. So I think it's like 29 or 28% body fat. He shrunk down. Now he's, the most recent was 9% body fat. And so he's got massive amounts of abdominal definition, but that took him 18 months because he started with really no foundation. If you actually have like 14, 15% body fat, usually we can see it in 2 to 3 months. And our fitness team, Nikki, she'll put you on a very strict protocol on what to eat, how to hydrate, all those things so you can actually start changing your body composition. Okay, so for those of you who are really looking for that big, massive turnaround, once again, the first thing we want you to do, get your blood labs ran. Let's see what's interfering with your progress, and then we can give you a more accurate assessment. If you love this video, I really appreciate you being part of the community. Thanks so much for watching. I provided a link for a free copy of my book, The Peptide Blueprint. Just download it at the link below, and I'll see you in the next video.